You're too mysterious for your own good, and you need to spell it out in tangible real life results. You're playing the I'm a manifester card a little too hard. I get it. You're a 6-2 manifester, the queen of ideas. But babe, are you actually initiating? Oh my God, I love how it's talking to me. Your brand is potent, but your offers are hiding.
Oh,
Um, your IG needs a punch in the face with value. You're not leveraging urgency and exclusivity. You might be selling to the wrong level of awareness. You need to get louder about money. Final roast, you're sitting on a gold mine, but you're playing too soft.
oh my God.
I
Oh,
love it. I'm gonna go home. After this, I'm gonna nail it.
You
that
are.
is awesome. I love it.
It's
Who
gold, isn't
thought?
it?
Well, that told me, didn't it, girls?
It's so good. It,
And you know
it,
what? It's probably really freaking true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what are you hiding?
Well, I'm probably just not being bold enough. I'm probably wishy washy. Even though I think I'm not wishy washy, I'm probably wishy washy. Whereas really, I want to just say, get your shit together, take responsibility for your own life. Nobody is here to save you. Life will be up and downs. But you know what, guys? Even when you feel like this is the worst moment on earth, you will get through it. And you've
Mm.
Yeah.
got through them before. And you can actually thrive amongst all of that shit. You just have to know how, and you have to want it. You have to want it.
You
I
gotta
love
want
that.
it real bad. Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Yep. Sometimes it's just gotta get a bit uglier, a bit harder, isn't it? Before that want really kicks in.
And you know what? It gets ugly over and over again as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the ugly doesn't end. It's like you do it. It
No.
comes to smack you in the face every now and again. But I don't you find when you're on this journey, I don't know about you ladies, but sometimes I can be feeling absolutely phenomenal, like vibing so high. There could be chaos all around me, but I am feeling great. But all of a sudden I go, "Oomph," and I'm right at the bottom, like as if I've just fallen off a cliff and every bone in my body is just shattered. And I'm in, "Ah!" And I go, wow, nobody like warned me about any of that. There was no like steps down. Somebody just shoved me off the cliff. And then I'm in that really dark moment. But that dark moment, now I've realized, is so beautiful even though all of those old patterns and thoughts come back, you're not worthy. What have you done in your life? You're a failure. All about all of that crap is there, still loud, but you know that you're ready for a big spiritual upgrade after that's happened.
Mm.
You know something magic is going to happen. So you go, all right, well, I'm just currently like the butterfly in the cocoon. I've just turned to mush. It's really painful. All these old thoughts are coming up to make me say, do I believe them? Is that my truth? And then you go, no, that's not my truth. And you work through it and you do your work that we live and breathe and talk about all the time. And then you come out the other side and you're a beautiful butterfly again.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And how long do you stay in that mushy state?
For me, it could literally be minutes,
Wow.
never really more than a day. But I do still go there.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
that's like, when you've been doing this healing work a long time, I don't know, maybe other people don't go there, but I certainly do. And I find that it really it helps me to help my clients more as well.
Mm. Yeah.
Because I can't be an enlightenment and all floaty phenomenal and try and help people who are on their knees or trying to get through things. That's not helpful, is it? Me going, oh, it just feels great up here. I
Oh,
have to remember how crappy it feels.
yeah, you do. Otherwise, you're just not relatable at all. And
Yeah.
do you always get yourself out of those spots, or have you got people you bounce off of? Like, you got business besties or people that you took the stuff through as well to
Well,
process?
do you know what I just went and did? I just went over to Mission Bay to the ECC at Mission Bay with Natalie, and I didn't want to go this morning. I was in a bit of a didn't want to go. I thought, no, I'm just going to stay and be a recluse. I was like, no, go over there. There was that like little call and then we go, 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 go. And then when we did the little circle, it was like, how can we help you? And I actually just sat there and I said, I'm going to be really vulnerable. I said, can you just tell me I'm worthy? And about 4 of them all got up and just all dived on me and gave me the biggest hugs and kisses. And then a few of them said some things, I've helped them with in the past. And it's not an ego thing. It was just a pure moment of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And we have to do that, don't we? We have to be. If what we want in the world, we have to be. So if I want people to be able to speak honestly and openly to me about how they're feeling, that's how I've got to show up in the world.
Yeah.
We've always got to do it first.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, Jo, what started you off on this journey of healing, spirituality,
Spirituality, I would say, has been with me forever, like literally with me forever. I was always really interested in clairvoyance and rune stones and tarot, and I was always called to go to see mediums and things like that. So that spirituality aspect, that looking for something more, was always there. And probably healing has been as well, because since understanding my Akashic records, I know where I'm from and why I'm here. It makes total sense. But really, it's a personal story, isn't it? Most people who choose to go into the space of healing, I don't think we choose. I think it chooses us, and it's a vocation. And it's because we've been through crap and we've got through it and we've transformed in some way. That's certainly my journey. I've transformed. I was just thinking before, I lived in chronic depression for 20 years, to the point where I went to a psychiatrist to see if I had bipolar. I ended up having a nervous breakdown, which they call a depressive episode, whatever they call them nowadays. And why was that? Well, one, I didn't love myself. There was no value there. So if there's no value, of course, there's going to be depression. The two things go hand in hand. And also, on the outside, I was rosy. I was smiley. I was the mum who dropped her kids off at school. I was the mum who ran 2 businesses. I was the face of hospitality. I was putting everybody's needs above my own. Did I tell everybody I was dying inside? No. Hence why I'm happy to do it now, because I will never go back to those 20 years of depression ever again. I feel like I cured myself of that because I fell in love with myself. And even when I'm at my lowest points now, I love myself through it unconditionally, even when I'm hating on myself. We have those awful thoughts at times. And so healing chose me. I don't think you can go through things and know how you got through them without them passing that knowledge on to other people. I don't think that's fair to do that. It's not my knowledge to keep.
Yeah. It's basically, as you say, I actually think as souls that we have certain callings that we drop into when we are on the earth plane. And so I think you're right. I think it's a calling, and we actually called it in as souls, but I think as humans we have certain gifts that we are able to help others with. And I think you with your and I do believe that we have to go through, like you say, depression or ailments or whatever, so that we can impart how we got through it.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I look back and I hated myself in the end. But what scared me towards the end of that journey was I started to dislike other people, because I was so full of hate. And I'm a person who loves people. Like, my body dysmorphia was so bad that I was actually, I couldn't even look at other people. And everything just got totally skewed. And as soon as that happened, I knew I needed to do something different. But I look at the world now and I look at our young people and the struggles they go through. They're no different than the struggles I went through. And that, yes, their life may have started off differently than mine. They may have had different struggles of an upbringing or different programming, but actually it's probably the same. It's the same feeling that we're left with, that feeling of not knowing our worth in the world, however that is put upon us, however that we claim that. It's the same feeling, that emptiness, that flailing, the unworthiness. So Yeah, it's definitely, that was my feeling. And I know it's almost like it kills your spirit. And I don't want that suffering for other people.
I think the programming is the same for a lot of us as well, especially in Western society, right? We're all subject to the same things, and we're all on the same treadmill, on the same, parents on the same rat race, and we're all on that same journey to aspire to what's going to make us happy because society tells us it is, and it's leaving us hollow inside. I feel like my personal take on it is that depression is an extension of our soul not getting to live its true purpose of being here, and being so disconnected from that purpose, from that journey, that it manifests in that way. But
Absolutely.
I'm really keen to hear how you got yourself out of it, because I'm sure there'll be people listening. Okay, so you hit that rock bottom, and maybe I can relate. And well, what did you do to help yourself?
Well, first of all, I looked around at my life and thought, what's not working? And at the time, my first marriage wasn't working. So I did leave that, only to get into a more horrific marriage because hadn't healed the wounds from the first one. But again, everything's a blessing in our life. Everything is as it is. There's no good or bad. So however, this second marriage, married to a narcissist, full on narcissist. We're not just using words here. Full on narcissist, sociopath, got so horrific that he finally abused me more than I abused me. And as soon as that happened, I remember, as I tell this story a lot, I was sitting on the sofa with my key in my hand and my phone in my hand, because that's how I lived. I never let them out my sight in case I had to escape. And I thought, I'm going to die or I'm going to lose my children, which is almost the same as dying. And I thought, I've got to learn to love myself. And I made a pact with myself there and then in the dark. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was watching the traffic on the harbour bridge because it's where I lived at the time. I thought, I can't hate myself anymore. And whatever it was a calling from God, source, the universe, the creator, call it what you want, whatever word you want there. It was definitely a message. You've got to learn to love yourself. And I was 100% in. So I went and looked how to do that. I went and followed people who had got from a journey from not liking themselves and in self-sabotage to finally being at peace and at ease with themselves. And I read the books and I did the work. I didn't just read it and put the book down and go, oh, that was lovely. Because we do that a lot. I did the work. I wrote the affirmations. I said the affirmations. I listened to this talk that was in my head and I asked myself, is this the truth? And I put, it wasn't false positivity. It was, there's a negative thought. Is that the truth? No, it's not the truth. So what can I say instead of that? And I didn't just say things like, oh, Joanne, you're amazing, you're wonderful, you're fabulous, because that's not how I felt. But it was like, Joanne, you've got a good heart and you do really nice things for people, which was a much nicer thought than going, you are useless, you are awful, you are a really bad human, you're fat, you're ugly, whatever those awful things were saying in my head. What was the one thing I could grasp onto? That I knew I had a good heart. So I'd say that over and over again. And then I would add the fun little affirmations, I am beautiful, I am enough, I am lovely. I'd look myself in the mirror and do that. Love you, beautiful. And I was trying to make it fun. I added a bit of my personality to it, which is cheeky and bossy, and I did the groundwork. And it works. It's just creating those neural pathways with great awareness. So questioning everything. And it wasn't overnight, but it happened a lot quicker than I thought it was going to do. But equally, I was 100% committed. It's like if you give up sugar, say you go, oh, I'm going to cut down on sugar, but you're cutting down, then somebody offers you a menu and you can go, oh, I'll just have a dessert tonight. You're giving yourself choices. We don't need choices as humans. We need less choices. So I was 100% committed to loving myself. So every time one of those bad thoughts came in, or I felt crappy or, less than, I turned it around because I thought, I'm 100% committed. I'm doing this. And I absorbed the podcasts. I listened to the TED Talks, and that's all I did. And then, if I was in the car, I'd listen to something positive. I'd listen to something positive before I went to bed, got into meditation, got outside in nature more, all the things we're supposed to do.
That's amazing, Ashley. And it really, it's incredible how that actually ties in so much around our discussions around addictions, actually, this with this theme that we've got this month, because it's for every addict that's trying to, you know, stop something that is detrimental to them. Every addict has tried and tried and tried and failed, right, many times. But there's that one time when they succeed, something really is very, very different, and that keeps them on track. Like it's a real clear cut decision that there's no going back on. And it's fascinating, isn't it, to know, like, what is the criteria to make it so? Like, how's that different to when you've been sure you were sure last time?
Yeah.
What is it? What do you think that element is that actually, I mean, I know it's a decision, but what was it for you that spurred you? I mean, it was that rock bottom moment. It was you received that message, didn't you? Loud and clear in your head. It was outside of yourself, was it? It was within yourself. It wasn't you. It wasn't your ego or your
No,
mental.
I think it was intuition, which is the word of God, isn't it? You know, your intuition is the words of source, the words of the creator. So it was definitely intuition, and I knew it. I knew I would be dead if I didn't leave. Either he would have killed me or I would have killed me. So there was no choice. It would have happened. And it was it's like almost like a divine moment. But then equally, what is that? It's your soul connecting with your human. You know, it's like we're so disembodied from our own bodies, but we're also so disassociated from our own souls. And I think it's when that soul and the human actually come together with the same decision, you all go. And we are way more powerful than what we ever give ourselves credit for. I always call it the mind-heart connection. That's what I say. You know, we know, you know, if I say to you, are you worthy? I say this to my clients, do you think your mum's worthy? Do you think your dad's worthy? Yeah. Well, does that make you worthy? Yeah. Would you feel it? No. When we have the connection, and whether it's brain and heart or human and soul, same thing. But when the two come together, that's when magic happens. And that's why a lot of the work, you know, talk about reading the book and just putting it down and going, oh, yeah, that's good. We read a lot of stuff or hear a lot of stuff and go, that's a great concept. That's wonderful. But we don't embody it because we haven't had the connection. And it's, how do we have the connection? Sometimes it is divine, you know, sometimes it's literally just as a switch has been turned on you and like, or the electric magnetic has come together and it's all there. Sometimes it's a rock bottom moment. Sometimes you have to do the work to embody it as well. You know, that's why we do a lot of this somatic work, isn't it? Because we know a lot of stuff, but how do we let every cell in our body believe it?
Yeah. Yeah, somatic work's interesting, isn't it? I haven't delved into it an awful lot myself, but do you do somatic practices?
Yes, well, I exercise a lot, any movement of the body, you know, that's why I'm a personal trainer as well. So I say to my clients, especially the ones I'm coaching as well as training, I'll say, use your exercise with intention. You know, I'm going to release all my anger today. I'm going to release all my trauma today. I'm going to mix up my energy today and allow it to flow. When we do something with intention, it's so much more powerful than just doing it. And then, of course, there's meditation, there's the walking on the beach, there's the grounding, there's the earthing. These are all somatic practices. And then there's all the other things like, you know, releasing your hips and doing those kind of stretch movements I sometimes do it with really powerful words with myself and with clients. You know, we might be stretching out the groin area because a lot of women, mainly, that's where we hold our trauma. You know, it's held there as a memory. So, you know, it might be like, you know, remember you are powerful, you are potent, you are important, you beautiful words and they don't even realize what they're doing. But it's releasing energy. It's releasing that trauma to allow it to bubble up to then be honored. So yeah, I love somatic work, breath work. You know, I say to people, you know, out of breath work has taken me to places that no drug ever has.
Wow, is that right?
Oh my gosh, breath work alone, just breathing in a way where you can, you know, bring all of that fluid up to your brain and let it explode. Wow, just some of the experiences have been so off the scale. Better than any psychedelic drug you're ever going to take.
Okay, tell us more about that. That sounds awesome. I mean, I know the benefits of breathing, but I haven't had that kind of experience with it.
I struggled with breathing for a lot. Well, I actually, many years ago when I was having my depression, I was having panic attacks, and I actually went to see a breathing specialist to learn how to breathe properly. So that was my first experience with just normal breathing. And even that revolutionized my life because, most people are breathing up here. I learned how to breathe properly, the way babies breathe from their abdomen, from their tummy. And so that changed my life for starters. And then when I worked with a business coach and she was really into breath work, soma breath work, and we were doing them. And honestly, I struggled week upon week. She wanted to do a weekly breath work session. I was like, oh my God. But I showed up and I tried it. And those breath retentions, when we hold our breath at the bottom and we breathe all the way out, because we don't often breathe properly, do we? We do the shallow breathing. So when we breathe everything out we possibly can and blow it all out, and then we hold our breath at the bottom, that shows us where our nervous system is as well. If the longer you can hold it, the more relaxed your nervous system is in general. And I struggled and struggled, but when I got into it, and then you're allowed to take that big breath in and you bring all that, the cerebral fluid up from your spine into your brain, and you scrunch your face up, and it's all there. I'd see the brightest colors I've ever seen, like colors that I can't even describe. Being like things like jewel colors, like gems, but so bright and so.
Wow.
It was insane. And that's just because your body's in that place and, you're connected to source, and we're amazing. We're powerful.
Wow. So, okay. So here's a little question around, the breaking through that and how long it took. Because I have tried that type of breathing, holding at the bottom, a couple of times, and I totally relate to what you're saying about the nervous system and the freaking out and the I'm gonna die thing. It's you're right. It's very hard. So what would I expect in terms of having keep pushing through and trying that to achieve those sort of results that you were getting?
I think it's like with anything, the more you practice something, the better you get at it in general. And to also be really kind when you're doing it, have no expectations. Some days, like, I could hold my breath for, say, a minute and a half, 2 minutes some days, and sometimes you can do up to about 3 minutes. But some days it might only be 20 seconds. But if that's what my body's going to do on that day, then they honor that. That's okay. That's where we are today. And we're going to breathe in, and then we can try and do another breath retention, because if you do a few on the go, within one session, you often find that your nervous system starts to slow down and become more comfortable as you go on. Unless you've got a race in mind and you're thinking about a million other things, well, then maybe that's not the day to do it. Find the time and the space when it feels safe and secure.
Wow, well, there you go. Didn't think we were going to get on the topic of breathing, but
we go everywhere, don't we?
What haven't you tried, Joanne?
But you know what? I'll tell you this, I'm prepared to try most things.
Good on you, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Excellent. And so, okay, so tell us a little bit more around how you work with people now, and more specifically, how you want to be working with people, because it sounds like you can help an awful lot of people. Who are you really feeling drawn to working with at the moment?
Well, I just love people, and I've mainly been working with teenagers and women. They have been my main focus groups, I would suggest. But that's happened organically. They've come to me. Really, I thought it would all be middle-aged women like myself, and they all handed over their teenagers who are in angst, suicidal ideation, addictions, blah 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 blah. But where do I want to work? I love working with parents. Why do I love working with parents? Because we are the CEO of our household. And if we are not healthy, how can we possibly expect our children to be healthy and flourish? And the more we're aware we are of everything that we do, everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, gets passed on to our children in one way or another by energy. So I do have a real soft spot for working with parents, and I'd love to work with parents who are thinking about becoming parents as well. Because wouldn't that be magic? Because imagine I look back now and I've got 4 beautiful children. They're definitely carrying trauma from me. You know, I was in a state of depression for the first however many years they were born. I might have bathed them and played with them and done all of that stuff with them, but they've got my energetics, and then they've got the aftermath of failed marriages and narcissistic relationships. You know, if I knew how to heal way back then, and if I knew how to connect with my self-worth, it would have been such a beautiful gift, not just for me, but for my beautiful family. Now I'm holding the pieces together of their trauma, and that's a hard place to be. But imagine if you're there and you haven't done any healing, and your children come to you with their problems, but you make it about you, which a lot of parents do. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't go to my parents and ask them for anything or talk to them about my traumas, because I would probably go away feeling worse or trying to make them feel better about the situation, when all I really wanted is to be seen and heard and validated. So I love working with parents.
That's awesome.
Okay, so Joanne, when someone comes to you, whether it's an adolescent or parents that might be dealing with, say, addiction, what would be some steps you would take them through? Because I know anyone who's watching here will go, wow, she does amazing stuff, but would probably like to know a little bit about what your processes are, apart from breathing and meditation and things you've already shared.
You know, a lot of the time, it's the first and foremost, they might want to talk about the addiction, but it's not really where I would focus. And a lot of them are so in shame and guilt about their addiction and beating themselves up about the addiction. I usually start there. Let's love the addiction. Let's honor that addiction and love it, because you know what? Things change more rapidly and for long-term effect with love. Nothing changes with fear.
Oh, I love that.
That's very
so we love the addiction, because what has the addiction done? The addiction has kept them alive. The addiction has kept them going, no matter what situation. You look at whether you're a drug addict, whether you're a sex addict, whether you're addicted to exercise or shopping, you know, it's keeping you going in one way or another. It's a maladaptive coping mechanism, absolutely. So how can we replace that with some healthy coping mechanisms? Well, we can only do that when we really get to the source of the problem, because every addiction is an avoidance of facing something.
Yeah.
It's running away from, you know, we talk about, you know, you're either running towards an emotion or running away from an emotion. And addiction, you know, it's like if I go and get a glass of wine, if I'm in a bad mood and I get a glass of wine, okay, maybe I'm not an alcoholic, but it's still using that glass of wine in the wrong way, because it's to try and go, oh, I need that glass of wine. Anything we need is just running away from something or to cover something up to make us feel better in that moment. So it's about loving the addiction and you know, getting rid of that guilt and shame around it. That's where I start.
It's not unlike then dealing with a self-sabotage pattern, is it?
It's exactly the same. A self-sabotage pattern is usually like, well, you've turned it in, it's a maladaptive coping mechanism. Why do we self-sabotage? Usually because we don't think we're worthy. Usually because there's a childhood wound there, and we self-sabotage it before it's taken away from us. And it's not conscious. We don't go, oh, I'm going to ruin this relationship now. I'm going to ruin this friendship. I'm going to ruin my chances of getting a promotion. We don't do it consciously. So yeah, with the addiction, it's like, love that first. Also love all our behaviors, because they've been keeping you going, but let's actually go down to that subconscious programming, because you're running on that 95% of the time. Let's go find out what your truth is, because if your operating platform is, you know, I'm not worthy, or, you know, money is bad, or whatever your original thought processes are that were put there in an early age, if that's what you're operating on, then that's always what you're going to attract. That's going to what you believe. So then it's like a little bit of exploration as to where the subconscious programming came in, and is it yours, or are you just carrying somebody else's?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because when you think, you know, a lot of people are actually also in denial of self-sabotage addiction. So how would you therefore then dive into that?
I'm normally just a pretty straight shooter, to be honest with you. I just tell them how it is. But that's why they come to me. You know, I'm gentle and loving, but very straight. And I show them the patterns, I show them the dots. And it's usually with stories. You know, I either tell stories about myself. Look, when I did this, this happened. Can you see the pattern? Can you see the correlation? Because stories are so powerful.
Yeah.
And when we see it, sometimes see it in either somebody else or in a situation that you can explain, it's easier to go, oh, I'm doing that. Oh my gosh, that's me. You know, so that's how I would normally approach it. And I don't tell stories necessarily about other clients, but I can give them, you know, because obviously everything I work with is confidential.
Mm.
But some clients do allow me to share their stories without names, obviously. So I always ask permission. But you can also talk about things in a hypothetical way. But stories are a great way to connect. And that's why I'm not a therapist, and that's why I'm not a counselor, and that's why I'm not a psychologist, because they do not share stories. Whereas, and I don't even really like to call myself a coach, because in the coaching world, we're not really supposed to share stories, but I do. And I find it a really good way to connect with my clients, because you've got to keep it real.
Mm. Yeah, we have.
Yeah. Otherwise, they feel, well, yeah, it's an added pressure. It's all on me, isn't it? And well, it's just a very human thing to do, isn't it? That's how we connect as humans. It's like, I'll give you something vulnerable. You know, that invites you to give me something vulnerable. That's how we truly connect.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I remember I went to a counsellor for 4 years after I left my first marriage, and it was what I needed at the time. You know, I needed somewhere I could vent and just talk. But that's literally what I did for an hour once a week for 4 years. I vented and talked. Did it get me anywhere? Not really, but it probably helped just that I had somebody just to go to for an hour. But there was nothing. I didn't know her. I didn't. She
Yeah.
didn't give me any tips, tools, any strategies. Really, it was just she would say the odd little thing here and there, but it was very sterile. And when I look back now, yeah, it was helpful in one way, but I've got much further with being around real people. And whether I've hired a coach or whether I'm with one of my coaching friends and they just give it to me straight, that's what's inspired me more in the world.
Yeah. It's the straight talking that I think is the most appealing. You
I
know,
hope so.
yeah, I mean, it's authenticity, isn't it? We've been talking about authenticity and actually being real, because we can't have real health, whether it's mental, physical, or spiritual health, if we don't get real.
No, absolutely not. You're right. And authenticity is such a beautiful concept, but people often don't even know who they are. So this is another road that I often go down with clients, is to find out who they are, helping them, giving them that safe container for them to discover who they are on a soul level, activating and aligning with their soul, not who they've been told to be or shown to be. You know, take away all those labels. I'm a lawyer, I'm a banker, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a brother, I'm a dad. You know, none of them labels. That's not who you are. There's some of the things that you do and how you show up in the world, but who are you? What does that soul want? And how can we show up in authenticity if we don't know who we are? And if we don't know how to read the signs from, okay, well, that's draining all of my energy. So, okay, well, I'll keep on doing that then. Or that brings me joy. And your soul's trying to give you the nudge going, you really like that. You really like that. That feels good. If we don't even know how to recognize the signs, how can we show up as our authentic self? And when people do start to show up authentically and they don't have anything to apologize for, oh my God, that's freedom and liberation.
Yes, it is. And it often,
Even if you're an addict, you know, even if you can go, I'm an addict. But you show up authentic as that. There's not the shame and the guilt attached to it. And that's powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful. Yeah.
Hmm?
It makes you think, doesn't it? Because the thing where, you were saying about how words are so powerful, and let's face it, spelling is a spell. So if you're weaving your authentic magic spell, then you are then being a positive for the world, rather than if you're in a negative story, you're bringing the sort of negativity in. And so it doesn't mean that you have to be happy clappy and everything all the time to be bringing the frequency up.
Absolutely.
And I think what your gift is to show people that they can have a very high vibing frequency, but they have to be real at the same time.
Absolutely. And to not be scared of any emotion. That's and to give permission to people to say somebody's let me down, or that situation didn't feel good. Because we don't want to go there, and we don't want to maybe admit our parents have let us down. Even if they've been doing the most amazing job that they could, they've let us down somewhere. We don't, and then we don't know how to, we don't want to deal with those icky emotions like anger and resentment and jealousy and bitterness because they feel just too icky. But we're human and we're supposed to feel every emotion. And every emotion is beautiful because it shows. Oh, sorry, the dog just made me jump out my skin. Yeah, every emotion shows us something and tells us something. It's all like this big, massive treasure map of our life.
Yeah.
So if we can, I had a bad moment this morning. I was in a really dark space. I'd gone from that high to that low for some reason. Something had triggered it. But I know that there's beauty in that. And I know that my vibration and my frequency hasn't lowered just because I've gone into some old patterns and it's there that needs healing. By addressing the healing, your frequency's still up here and it's still nice and lovely.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, we get mixed up with thinking if we're in a low mood, our frequency has to come down. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it does. Absolutely. But our frequency can still be high while we deal with those low emotions.
Yeah, it's actually when we get stuck in those low emotions, isn't it? And because we're going to have these, because we're human, as you say, we go ups and downs and that because we're here to feel.
Mm-hmm.
But as fellow Brit, we understand in being brought up in England is basically you shouldn't show emotion.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't show that you're unhappy. So when anyone asks you, how are you today? Oh, I'm great.
Fine, I'm fine.
Even when you're in the depths of despair. But, I think it's a really powerful thing to go, you know what? Actually, I'm not fine today. And I think the other person would feel honored that you actually did that.
Yeah. And it's a bit discernment as well, isn't it? Like, I'm not going to go and tell the lady in the supermarket who is beautifully packing my bags that I'm having a crappy day. Occasionally I might go, oh, it's been a really bad day today. But, it's how you say it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's the people who you're showing up to be real to, your friends, your family, your intimate partner. Can you be truly authentic with those people? I was actually just talking to somebody today as well who just lost a little dog, right? She's a dog, she's been 14, she went through this little illness, and this little dog has touched all of our lives, right? And her friend was in a meeting when the dog had to get put to sleep. She must have seen the message pop up. She was taking this entire meeting in a corporate environment, started crying, told her entire team, and said, sorry, we're just going to have to stop this meeting now. I'm just too upset. And I just thought, isn't that the most beautiful thing to be able to show up in that environment and be truly raw and real? That's what the world needs. That's what the world needs. Because when we do that, we give permission for other people. I'm not saying we all have to cry in every meeting.
No. That's a true leader.
Yeah, it's a true leader. I'm upset. I'm owning my feelings. So, it's like, And that's that beautiful feminine energy as well that we all have, whether, you know, however we want to show up in the world, whoever we are, that beautiful feminine energy is so desperate to be ruling this world right now.
Is it ever?
Is
Absolutely.
it ever? We've got to let it flow though. And that's what I mean. If we the rise of the divine feminine, I mean, how long have we been hearing that message has been coming to me for so long? The rise of the divine. I had no idea what it meant because I was so stuck in my masculine, but I was like, there's going to be a rise of the divine feminine. What the hell does it mean? But I so understand what it means. We don't have to be ball breakers. We don't have to do all that. Just be and be real.
Yeah, I love that. I've been a bit like you, Joanne, quite in the masculine, and I've been saying those things as well because you hear them all bandied around and it sounds really good, but I don't know if I was fully understanding what that means, but you've nailed it on the head right
And
there.
when you get it and when you feel it, whether you're a man or a woman, because it's, you know, we've all got the feminine and the masculine in us, haven't we? So I know there'll be men listening to this as well. When you connect with that inner feminine, the power you hold and the power that then you can then transmute to the world, to alchemize stuff, to, you know, transmute energy. It's so potent and so beautiful. That is the plug we need to be plugging in.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. I had a bad morning too. You know, my husband found out that he didn't get a job that we'd been expecting to get. He's been going through an interview process for 2 months.
Oh
And I
no.
was so certain he was going to get it, and he didn't get it. And you know what? Karen was with us, and I mean, I'm still yet to catch up with him and talk about it with him, but I really love the advice you just gave there because I'm going to really make sure that he does that for himself, is able to tune in and release anything that he might be holding around that and let it, you know, transmute it. But Karen and I myself went for a walk, and when we were talking before about, you know, do you lift yourself out of the situation or do you talk things through, you know, Karen lifted me out of a downward spiral so damn quick. It was unbelievable. Like, and I know things are speeding up right now and things are changing, but I came back from that walk and it's like, right, we've got a new plan, we've got a new strategy, it's all gonna be fine. And it hasn't bothered me in the way that I would have assumed it would have.
Programming.
Yeah.
You've changed your programming.
Yeah.
I know, and upped your frequency. I mean, how awesome is that? And what a beautiful gift. And when you've got a friend like Karen, you know, and you asked me before, do I tune into people? I do when I need to. You know, I've got friends like that as well who they will call me or I will call them, or serendipity, we will just get together. You know, that's just how it usually happens, isn't it? The universe wants you to offload. And we need to do that for each other. Because those downward spirals can seem really scary as well when you're in it.
Absolutely. I've never had a coach. I've never seen you know, counselors or anything like that. But one thing I've always had several close girlfriends that I'll go and download on, you know, and I might talk to a number of them, and that just helps bring so much clarity for me in that situation and helps me transmute all those feelings. It's priceless. We all need to be able to connect with someone real in that real way, like you say, and get it all and get that feedback too.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah.
Wow. Very good. And so Joanne, you're with us in the network for the next few months. How and we're going to be talking tonight, which I'm really looking forward to as well. In our first panel discussion, chewing the fat, with friends, all about addiction. So I'm looking forward to more of that. But what is it that you are feeling into, would like to bring to our network in terms of what you can offer in terms of helping with any of these things that we've been talking about, really?
Connecting into your inner worth, connecting into that divine feminine energy, healing, learning how to feel emotions, and thriving.
Bring it on.
Wow.
That's exciting.
Because, you know, the more self-love we have, the more loving we are to the world and to everybody else. And I believe that we are going to heal this world one person at a time, and it starts with ourselves.
So what's the one little tip you can leave us with now before we wrap up around helping someone, let's say, for example, my husband, to tap into his emotions, to transmute how he might be feeling?
Ask him to name how he's feeling. You know, what is the feeling you are feeling? Like, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling this. And just to allow him to feel it. You know, own the feeling. Because, you know, we talked about feeling and healing. We feel to heal. That's it. As soon as we feel it, and I always use the 3 words: awareness. So how are you feeling? Be aware of the what you're feeling. Then acknowledge it. And we acknowledge it by naming it. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling hateful, whatever it is. And then we accept it. Because acceptance is flow. When we're trying to go, oh, I shouldn't be angry, or I should now be happy, or I'm trying to be positive about that, that's force. We don't need any force, because that can all come later. You know, the positivity will come after the negativity, because we're polarity. But be aware of it, acknowledge it, accept it, and just let it be there for as long as it needs to be there. Does he need to go and punch a pillow? Does he need to go and take a walk? Does he need to go and breathe? Does he need to cry? Does he need to shout? Does he need to go and sit in silence for 10 minutes? Allow him to feel it, but put like a timer on it. You know, you go and feel that. You go feel that for half an hour. You go feel it and really feel it. And get in there and feel every feeling. And then we're going to talk about it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thanks, Joanne.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
That's amazing. It's true. How many of us have actually been taught that in our lives? It's always been shut down.
Yeah,
you know,
and you should be just moving on, because we want to move on quickly, because we don't want to sit in that discomfort, because that discomfort feels yuck. But it's getting comfortable in the discomfort is a skill we can all learn.
Well, it dissolves it, doesn't it? If you can sit and be with it, it dissolves it.
It goes away. It doesn't get stuck in those 70 trillion cells, or however many we've got in our body. The number changes all the time. I don't know. But, you know, when you think about, if we suppress it, I think about our cells as like bubbles that you blow. And if you suppress it in one of those bubbles, it just goes and gets stuck somewhere. And then that bubble goes around your body, you know, contaminating it with the anger or the hurt. And that's what you're carrying. And that's what gets stuck in there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just allow yourself to feel it, it doesn't have to go in the bubble, because it just pops and goes in the air, and it transmutes and source takes it back. And it's beautiful.
That is. The sooner the better, right?
Here.
So that's a fantastic visual. That I love the visual of the universe taking it away in a bubble. Love it.
I mean, how beautiful is that? Adios.
I love that.
Thank you, ladies, for this. I've loved this chat.
Yeah, it's been magic. And, you know, let's have another one whenever you're up for it.
Yeah,
we'll be up for it. But it's been great. It's been really cool to get to know you better and your journey. And it's so lovely to have you in the network with us.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting everybody else and being a part of it. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you for all the work you're doing as well. You're both magic.
That's awesome.
You're very, very welcome.
Bye.
Bye.